this is bigger than Watergate. Okay, let me say it again. Bigger than Watergate. This is bigger than Coin Intel Pro, or maybe it's at least along the same lines. That was what was put in place by Hoover and then continued into the 60s. This is how they were spying on Martin Luther King, for example. Anybody that they deemed a threat, they went and illegally spied upon. Well, what were they doing? They were illegally spying on 8 sitting U.S. senators. We've actually now heard as many as 12 sitting GOP senators. And Jack Smith, good old Jack Smith, is the one that organized it all, okay? Jack Smith right here, take a look. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Jackie boy, you're going down. He's the one that was out there saying, okay, we're going to use all these communications. We're going to track these private communications. Apparently, they put it all into place during J6. During the whole aftermath of J6, in terms of the allegations against various people, and trying to prove that they were trying to overthrow the government, et cetera. So what did they do? Instead of like going the normal route and getting a FISA warrant and having probable cause and all this stuff, they just went and did it. Like, that's really bad. Okay, like, I cannot underscore how bad that is. And now Bongino found out. And remember, maybe about 8 or 12 weeks ago, Bongino said this on TV. And by the way, I know him well. He's a good guy. And he has been indicating this more than just on Fox, shall we say. We knew something was coming. Indeed, it's a big freaking deal, okay? And the mainstream media is not covering it at all. I mean, I was looking at the New York Times yesterday. Nobody was covering this. I'm like, why am I the only one covering this? Fox, of course, which initially broke the story on Fox Digital. Here, take a look. Jack Smith tracked private communications calls of nearly a dozen GOP senators during the J6 probe, FBI says. And Dan had to go out there and brief Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, Marsha Blackburn, and more on Monday about this, Monday night. So he lets them know Monday afternoon, Monday night. It then becomes part of the testimony and the back and forth between Pam Bondi and Josh Hawley, and no one covers it. I'm like, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Dan promised we would be seeing some big stuff. This is what I would classify as big stuff. The FBI saying we are cleaning up a system in the making, identifying problems, restoring integrity, and ensuring accountability through the media. And yet the media didn't even bother to report on it. No, over at The View, they were just talking about how he's going to steal the election, right? MSNBC, that's their new talking point. He's just going to steal the election. Forget about the fact that these people were doing things absolutely illegal. They've all been fired. All the spies in the FBI that were alleged to have been engaging with this Arctic frost nonsense, they've been fired. But my gosh, we got a problem, do we not? Like a serious, major problem. And nobody wanted to talk about it from the Democrat side yesterday, and nobody wanted to talk about it in the mainstream media, despite the fact that it was said by a sitting U.S. senator on Capitol Hill in a hearing with Pam Bondi. Let's go back to the tape.
Manner of things, and the current president. I've also heard them said, and I just wrote it down because I wanted to be sure I heard it correctly. I've heard them say that Joe Biden never targeted his political enemies. Joe Biden never directed his attorney general to target his political opponents. That's interesting, because I could have sworn that yesterday we learned that the FBI tapped my phone. Let's look at it. We've got a list. Tapped my phone, tapped Lindsey Graham's phone, tapped Marsha Blackburn's phone, tapped 5 other phones of United States senators. Gee, it sure looks like targeting political opponents to me, and yet I haven't heard a word from that side of the dais about any concern whatsoever. We've got nothing but concerns today, but no concern at all for a Justice Department that is tapping the phones of sitting United States senators because who knows why. They don't like them. They're members of the opposition party. They're Republicans. They're conservatives. You've seen this document, Attorney General Bondi. Well, what was going on here? Who ordered this? Who ordered the tapping of the phones of United States senators?
Senator Hawley, I cannot discuss the details of that right now for very good reason.
You're going to do a thorough investigation into this, I trust. Is that correct?
Yes.
We will be looking at all aspects of this, and I have talked to Director Patel at length about
And
this.
you're going to figure out who was involved in this, who signed off.
You better. I was just putting Scott's comment up that they better hold these people accountable. You betcha. They got to hold these people accountable. Because otherwise, you know, what kind of system do you have? What kind of government do you have when your own government can be out there spying on you? You could be a sitting U.S. senator and they're going to spy on you because, oh gosh, they don't like you. They don't like your side. They were spying on 92 different organizations, including my friend Charlie Kirk's, for goodness sakes. Are you kidding me? This is so messed up. I mean, it reminds me, we were all worked up about the Tea Party years ago, right? When Obama's Lois Lerner lady, right, was trying to target any organizations, grassroots organizations via the IRS with, extra scrutiny because they somehow were on the other side. I mean, this is like even worse. This is even bigger. This is huge. And so, yes, this is worse than Watergate. Yes, this is just within lines like Intel Pro. Again, if you guys don't know about that, that was going on let me see if I have the dates on here. I think it was Hoover up through the 60s, basically, until it was eventually exposed by none other than whistleblowers. Okay, no, actually it was 1956. J. Edgar Hoover officially launched Intel Pro to target the Communist Party in the USA. And so between the 50s and 60s, you had the program looking at targeting civil rights groups, anti-war activists, feminist groups, student movements, and others. You had Martin Luther King Jr., for example, being targeted by this group. You had the FBI sending anonymous letters, wiretapping phones, trying to undermine King's reputation. What were they trying to do with these lawmakers? According to the memo, again, let me pull it up for you. We got about 8 of them. Here we go. Okay, here it is. And this is what I was looking at earlier. We want to know how many more. Okay, some big names on there. Lindsey Graham, he's pretty upset. Bill Haggerty, upset. You've got Josh Hawley. You've got Tommy Tuberville. You've got Ron Johnson. He's very upset. Cynthia Loomis, we heard from her yesterday. You know what Cynthia's saying? She's saying she wants to know whether she has some ability to sort of personally go after them. In other words, who can she hold responsible from a personal viewpoint, from a civil and criminal viewpoint? And we have some news for Cynthia. There's a lot you can go after because this is a violation of 18 U.S.C. 2511. This would be the Wiretap Act. You can't do this, okay? It prohibits the intercepting of communications without consent. So you can't just go and wiretap people's phones. Not only were they wiretapping and they were figuring out who they were talking to, they were also trying to figure out their location. So they had like a geographic location on people too. I mean, that's kind of freaky. They know exactly who you're talking to, how long you're talking to them, and where you are when you're talking to them. Plus the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, 18 U.S.C. 1030, if hacking or unauthorized access was involved. Okay, I think we got the Wiretap Act. I think we got the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and we have state privacy and eavesdropping laws, which often carry civil and criminal penalties. So what does this mean? It means Pam Bondi's life just got even busier, okay? Even busier, you guys, because they're gonna go after them. Again, back to Josh Hawley.
I believe also track our location over a period of days. This is outrageous. I mean, this is really unbelievable. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And it also goes to show you the extent to which the Biden administration was so corrupt, using the FBI to target their political enemies. And let's not forget, they didn't just do it to senators. They did it to school board parents who went and spoke up at those school board meetings. They did it to 92 conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. They tried to recruit spies into Catholic parishes. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Bill, we need a total investigation, a thorough investigation into everybody who was responsible, and I think there needs to be prosecutions.
Okay,
so you better
here's...
believe there's got to be prosecutions. Like, I'm not kidding on this. There's got to be prosecutions because you can't actually stand by and allow for this to exist. You think about Watergate and how they were, breaking into headquarters to what? To spy on their political enemies. Same kind of thing here. They're spying on their political enemies. So there's a lot of analogies that can be made, and the DOJ has got some work to do. Pam Bondi, your life just got really, really, really busy. Okay, it's one thing to fire the guys. Now we need them held accountable. We need Jack Smith held accountable. And apparently, the guy who actually initiated all of this, and this is very interesting, is somebody who had a long history at the FBI, I should point out, and was somebody who was used for corruption cases in the past. And he's the one that actually was initially ordering this. Isn't that interesting, right? He was the one that was initially ordering this, and then all of this is now coming forward, and we're finding out just exactly how bad it really and truly is. But I got to say, the fact that they got this going in the first place, it's actually pretty alarming. And it shows you how corrupt and messed up the Biden, and I say Obama because it was a holdover from the Obama days, just exactly how messed up they were. But it was the guy who was the head of the FBI in Eastern Virginia. And thanks to these whistleblowers, thank goodness for whistleblowers, that's how we found out about COINTEL as well. They're coming forward and they're dishing on exactly what went down. And Kash and Dan went in and they found the memos, and now it's getting exposed, just as James Comey is getting exposed for all he's worth, which is not a whole lot, today, pleading not guilty in a court of law.
Director James Comey in front of a judge moments ago in a hearing that we did not think would last long, and apparently that is the case. He has entered a plea of not guilty to 2 charges, federal level now. Our producers inside the courtroom say the former director accused of lying to Congress, obstructing a congressional proceeding, entered the plea moments ago in front of the judge, Michael Nachmanoff, appointed by Joe Biden, not guilty on both federal charges. He's accused of lying in front of Congress back in 2020. So that is the update inside the courtroom. And while that's happening in one part of Northern Virginia, this is happening across.
Yeah. So Comey is indicted because, you see, he's been caught allegedly lying to Congress, because he's been caught, it seems, trying to peddle stories in order to get things into the news cycle, in order to, well, get a special investigation going. And by the way, he admitted this. I want to show you the tape. He admitted it. Okay. Let's listen in.
Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No. I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
Wow. What a guy. Comey, you are just a scumbag. I'm sorry. You know that I don't use that word all the time, but I'm not really sure how else to say that other than he is one giant scumbag. And he was part of all of this, right? Like, he was part of it. They couldn't believe that Donald Trump actually won, so they had to come up with the Russia narrative. And then, after he won, and they figured, okay, finally they got Biden in there, and Biden was going to take over. And then they launched this Arctic frost thing using J6 the entire time. We've talked about this. I mean, J6 was unbelievable to me how that was spun. They got Nancy Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra, in there with her little video camera, taking all the tape, right? And then setting it to music and then sending it to CNN, where CNN would run it in a loop pretending as though it was theirs. I mean, it came from Alexandra Pelosi. It wasn't them. They weren't in there independently. You had Alexandra Pelosi, did you hear the last name, telling that story for all of America. And then all these ABC News producers that were brought in from Good Morning America, many of whom I know, to package the whole thing for a primetime special, right? So that they could educate America on just how bad Donald Trump was and how he tried to overthrow the U.S. government. And then they used Timothy Thibault. I was looking for his name. It was on the tip of my tongue. Former assistant special agent in charge of the FBI's Washington field office. So he was the guy who was there initiating this Arctic frost thing. And then you had special counsel Jack Smith saying, oh, this looks pretty good. Let me continue it on. These people are in trouble. Like this Timothy Thibault, he could be going to jail. You've got Jack Smith, who frankly could be going to jail. I mean, if they did not follow the proper etiquette for this, they will go to jail, and they should go to jail. because there's no excuse for it. This is not who we are. And I know they're trying to clean it up, but you can only clean this up if you actually have people that are going to serve as examples for what you can't and should not do. And by the way, James Comey knew this was coming the entire time. That's why he said over and over again, I don't care. I don't care how much you don't like Biden. You've got to vote for him. You've got to vote for him because Donald Trump, he's going to tear apart the DOJ. He's going to tear apart the FBI. Oh, I don't know. He's going to find all those files. Yeah, those files that said that you illegally wiretapped the phone of between 8 and 12 U.S. senators, for goodness sakes. Yeah, no wonder you're freaking out back in, this would have been, I guess, ahead of the election at some point. This was right before Kamala came in. He was singing for his supper on MSNBC.
When you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden. You must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
The consequences for who exactly? James Comey. I mean, just so we get this straight, right? The consequences for who?
Director James Comey in front of a judge moments ago in a hearing that we did not think would last long, and apparently that is the case. He has entered a plea of not guilty.
He says he's not guilty. Well, this will be interesting to watch, won't it? I mean, very interesting to watch. And again, I'm looking at your comments again in real time. This is a live show. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do. Look, you can't live in a world where your government can be manipulated so as to become an aggressive tool that you can use politically against the other side. Like we just can't actually have that. That would destroy the foundation of who we are. And yet they did it and they did it and they did it and they did it. And so I get it. Like some people are like, well, then why are we doing it again? Why are we turning around? And I'm going to tell you a story. If you listen to my show regularly, you may know this story because I asked Donald Trump after he became elected, I said, Mr. President, like, why didn't you go after Hillary Clinton? And he's like, Trish, I mean, she's the wife of a former president. She was running against me. Like, it didn't feel right. I feel like we got to move on. We're going to do lots of good. And he was all about growing the economy, growing middle-class wages. He wanted to stay focused on those things. And so he didn't go after her because he felt like that was backward looking. Well, guess what? Here we are now. What did they do? J6 happened. They ran with that all the way they could, all the way to the bank, except they never really did get to the bank, did they? Because look who's back in office. So that happened. And now they're trying to come up with crazy new excuses. Oh, Donald Trump's going to try and steal the midterm elections. That's their latest and greatest. It doesn't work, guys. You know what? It doesn't work because nobody believes you anymore. Everybody sees through everything that you're doing. For goodness sakes. I mean, you think about the mainstream media. They're actually rated lower than Congress, lower than the Democrat Party. I believe the Gallup poll showed a 28% approval rating. Yeah, 28% approval rating. And you know what? Most people in the GOP are not turning to the mainstream media anymore for their news. No. They're turning to places like What Do You Know, right here on the Trish Regan Show. And also they're going to X and other locations because they can't trust the mainstream media because the mainstream media doesn't deserve to be trusted. They're the ones that didn't bother to cover the biggest story since Watergate, spying by the Biden administration into the phones and phone records of sitting U.S. senators. Who knows how much more we've got going on? Watch. Okay, we'll try that again. Maybe they don't want you to see this.
Much of a surprise.
No, not at all. Specifically Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you've noticed a shift here.
Oh, I would think so. I think there are a lot of folks who have been on Twitter and may have realized, wait a minute, there seem to be a lot more Republicans in my feed, especially since Elon Musk took over. And oh my goodness gracious, what a tremendous monumental shift on the regular news consumers on Twitter/X. You go back to 2021, the party ID margin. Democrats were 37 points more likely. You were 37 points more likely to be a Democrat on Twitter or X than a Republican. Jump ahead to this side of the screen. It's completely changed around. Oh my goodness gracious. Now it's a 14-point lead for Republicans on Twitter/X. We're talking about a 51-point shift in the margin. And John and I were talking about it just before. You can see it with your own eyes. This is polling reflecting what you're seeing in the social media real world, where all of a sudden, John, you just see a lot more Republicans.
You know
in your
why?
feed.
You know why that is? I'm just going to say, here's the deal. Because they're not being shadowed anymore. And their voices are being heard, because you don't have the Biden administration saying you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, I ran into it myself, right? And I have very, very good friends who were deplatformed. I mean, it's just the reality. And Mark Zuckerberg has actually outlined all of this in an interview with Joe Rogan. And I'm going to tell you guys, we can't go back to that. We just can't go back to that. And that's on either side, okay? So when you ask the question, like, why is he doing this? I'm telling you, he didn't take that opportunity before. Now he's back. It's Trump 2.0, and he's not holding back, because he knows what they do. He knows that they will grab the ball and they will run with it as hard as they can. They will go after all their political enemies. Apparently, they're even going to spy on you too. So you have to actually set the course right. And that's what they are doing. I mean, for goodness sakes, think about what went down. Trying to say he wasn't a legitimate president because he was put there by the Russians. Jimmy Carter's quote, former president of the United States, not me. That was Jimmy Carter saying that. I'm not telling you the Democrats said this. They said it. Okay. And then you had Hillary Clinton on it too. Everybody's saying he's not legit. He's not legit. Are you kidding me? You want to know who started this? You guys opened Pandora's box. You really did.